What's up, guys? Today I'm going to continue the Insectoid species. Last week I talked about the Rachni, and the first Insectoid species that I'm going to talk about today is a very, very intriguing, interesting, curious, mysterious race. And that is the Keepers. I don't think there is any person that has played Mass Effect that hasn't wondered what's up with the Keepers. Like, who are they? What are they? Like, where did they come from? What's their purpose? What's going to be their purpose in Mass Effect 3? I find them so interesting, and I would love to know more about them. A lot of people think that the Keepers are a race, like a species that's always been the way that they are. But they're not. They're not a species that was born that way. They are a bioengineered race. They were created by another race or by another sentient being in order to do the job that they do on the Citadel. And you'll see that all of the species, or all these races, all the insectoid races that I'm going to be talking about, the Rachni, the Keepers, and the Collectors, you'll see a commonality among all three of them. And that thing that unites them, that makes you go, kind of like makes you question, it's just like this big coincidence. They're insectoid, of course, but also the interest that the Reapers have. And the whole insectoid thing, it's kind of like the Reapers really favor insects. And I'm not sure if it's because of the resilient nature of insects, or if it's because of the way that they communicate. Kind of like the Rachni have this hive mind. And you'll see when I speak of the Keepers that the Keepers have this telepathic way of communicating with each other. And the Collectors kind of have the same type of communication. They've all been reprogrammed or indoctrinated by the Reapers. The Rachni were indoctrinated by the Reapers. The Keepers were bioengineered by the Reapers before anybody knew anything about the Reapers. People thought that the Keepers had been bioengineered by the Protheans and placed on the Citadel in order to keep the Citadel, maintained. But Vigil is the one that explains that wasn't so, that the Keepers were there before the Protheans, and that the Keepers are there specifically, or they were there specifically, to activate the Citadel relay in order to let the Reapers in from dark space. So the Reapers put the Keepers there, and they programmed them only to accept the message from the Reapers to activate the Citadel relay. Now, of course, if you've played Mass Effect 1, you know that the Protheans changed this system. They changed this whole the message being received by the Keepers. They changed it so that the Keepers don't really accept that message anymore. They don't respond to it anymore. So now the Reapers can't use that means of entering the galaxy. The Keepers' main function is just to maintain the Citadel. They don't listen to any messages sent to them by the Reapers to activate the Citadel mass relay from the Citadel. So I find them fascinating. I find all of these insectoid races fascinating, just because of that very connection that they have with the Reapers. And then if you look at the outer shell of the Reaper, it looks insectoid. What is the correlation there? Are they even going to explain that in Mass Effect 3? Do the Reapers favor insectoid races because they were most likely created by some insectoid race? I don't know. So the Keepers were bioengineered by the Reapers. in order to serve, and not just bioengineered as in created by the Reapers, but most likely they were repurposed, kind of like the Collectors were. Like they were a different species, and the Reapers repurposed them for to benefit themselves, to benefit the Reapers. They've always served as the caretakers of the Citadel, regardless of any message that they would receive from the Reapers. They've always been the caretakers of the Citadel. When the Asari arrived to the Citadel for the first time, the Keepers were already there, and in Mass Effect Revelation, I believe, the novel, it explains that it was kind of like, it goes back into, kind of just explaining this little thing. When the Asari arrived on the Citadel, it was almost like a master that had been away from their house for so long. And the Keepers kind of made the place hospitable and, nice, and in order for the Asari to survive on the Citadel. Now, the Keepers don't communicate with anybody. People think they're mute because nobody has ever heard a Keeper. They believe that the way that, now these are all theories because nobody can or has been able to study the Keepers thoroughly, because whenever somebody tries to get a Keeper to research them, they have this self-destruct aspect to them. If they feel in danger, or if they feel that someone is going to, try to use them as a specimen or something like that, or just grab them, the Keeper self-destructs, and they turn into this like liquid of protein, and this they just turn into nothing. So nobody's been able to research them. The closest that somebody has ever been to scanning a Keeper, not research them, but scanning, has been Chorban and Jalid, I think his name was, his partner, the Volus and the Solarian in Mass Effect 1. They were the closest. And the information that Chorban sends you, if you did scan the Keepers, and I recommend you do in Mass Effect 1, the information that he sends you in Mass Effect 2, he sends you an email saying, kind of giving you a little bit of what he discovered that might be the case with the Keepers through the scanning that you did in Mass Effect 1. The most important thing, or the most interesting thing from that email, from what Chorban had found out, is that the Keepers have been on the Citadel way before the Protheans, and that the makers of the Keepers are most likely the same creators of the Reapers. It says, in a message to Shepard, he states his theory that they were engineered millions of years ago by the same people who made Sovereign. So that's very interesting. Because anything that talks about the species that created the Reapers is a huge issue for Mass Effect. It's a huge question that everybody has that has played Mass Effect. It's like, who made the Reapers? And for Chorban to make this theory, now this is just a theory, for him to come up with this theory saying that he thinks that the people, or the thing that created the Reapers is the same thing that created the Keepers. It's like, whoa, I hope they go into that in Mass Effect 3. I really, really hope they do. So that's why I'm saying scan those Keepers in Mass Effect 1. Now, the Keepers were modeled after, this is according to the Art of Mass Effect, the book. The Keepers were modeled, were based off a prayed mantis. They also look like, I was reading that they look like large aphids or aphids, and I looked them up. I don't like insects. Like, every time I look at an insect, I feel like, those shivers that you get, those shivers that you just can't control, like you're kind of like, ugh, those, oh, I just remembering that damn insect. It's not even that bad, but I hate insects. If you don't know what insect that is, they do have that face that the Keepers have. They're little I don't even want to think about it. Ugh. Scientists theorize that the keepers communicate with images with each other. This is just a theory, but they do believe that they communicate telepathically. Since no one has ever seen them communicating verbally or even coming together to with one another, where you're like, oh look, they're talking. No, the keepers are always separated. So since the keepers self-destruct every time someone messes with them or someone tries to grab them or anything like that, it's against the law to mess with a keeper, to bother them or anything like that, because they do such important work on the Citadel. They maintain the Citadel in ways that nobody else can. They have access to different parts of the Citadel that nobody else has. So they're crucial to the Citadel. So it's against the law, with punishment of imprisonment, to mess with a keeper. It's also unknown how the keepers maintain their numbers. There's always the same amount of keepers. It doesn't matter how many die, either by accident, old age, natural causes, or anything like that. They're always reproducing somehow. Most likely they don't reproduce the way that other species do, but some scientists theorize that they're genetic constructs, kind of like clones, where they're biological androids created somewhere deep in an inaccessible core of the Citadel. That's kind of interesting. Like, I would want to know what's going on there. It's just all seems so suspicious to me. I don't know. There's just this huge suspicion there, where it's like, if you've played Lair of the Shadow Broker, when you get those dossiers, when you're in the Shadow Broker base at the end, you could go into this one room and there's a computer where you could see this video footage of cameras in different areas and different planets. Like you could see a footage from a camera on the Citadel. One piece of footage on the Citadel, it left me like, all there is a dead or unconscious Krogan on the ground. A Krogan. And a keeper just walking away. And you're just like, what the hell happened there? Like, there's something to those guys, those little dudes. There's something to them. Vigil theorizes, when he's talking to you on Ilos, that the keepers were most likely once a race that was either created, conquered, or indoctrinated by the Reapers. And he says that the keepers were probably one of the first races that the Reapers enslaved. Since the keepers are so old, Chorban finds out in his scanning that they are most likely as old as a Citadel. I'll talk more about this when I talk about the collectors, but that's pretty much what the Reapers did with the collectors slash Protheans. So since the keepers were repurposed, that whole message that the Reapers were gonna send to the keepers was no longer. The keepers didn't listen to it anymore because of what the Protheans did. The keepers were now useless to the Reapers. So the Reapers wanted to replace them by a synthetic life form, more likely like the Geth, because synthetics are more predictable and more malleable, easier to keep control of. So that's what the Reapers wanted to do, but their plan just went down the toilet. After the attack on the Citadel, Anderson explains that the keepers are the ones that are pretty much fixing the Citadel, like maintaining it after the attack. And he says that he has no idea where they get the tools or the equipment or the pieces to fix it. So that's unknown. Nobody knows where the keepers get this stuff. Nobody knows how they do this. It's just a complete mystery as to how the keepers maintain the Citadel. Not only does Vigil think that the keepers were different back then, before the Reapers came, but a lot of crew members on the Normandy also they speculate that the keepers might also have been different before being transformed by the Reapers to suit their needs. It's funny how or the tasks that the keepers do on the Citadel. That not only do they maintain it, but sometimes they'll rearrange people's offices just out of nowhere. They'll just go in there, rearrange the office, and then they'll leave. And the person comes back and they're like, okay. But people have just, grown accustomed to that. That's what the keepers do, and don't mess with them because, they know what they're doing. But I just find it funny that they just do these things automatically. It's like their job, and even though nobody knows what they're doing, nobody knows why they're doing it, the keepers just, they're like, all right, step aside, I'm gonna go move this around, and then they just leave. And it's just like, okay, thank you. Sometimes they've even changed the architecture down in the wards with no explanation. And they pretty much go, like I said, they go about their business oblivious to the hustle and bustle of the Citadel. Like it's almost like nobody's there for them. It's just like, don't get in their way, and they won't mess with you. Like, they won't get in your way. They will keep the Citadel working, so they're crucial, but it's almost like you have to pretend like they're not there, because when you start noticing them, you really just can't stop questioning what they're doing, like how they're doing the things that they do. Like I said, a lot of this is just theory because there's not much that's known about the Keepers. They are a huge curiosity for scientists, and I think for Mass Effect fans. So let's just hope that BioWare answers some of these questions in Mass Effect 3, or at least mentions them again, or shows some kind of correlation between them, the Citadel and the Reapers at least. So that was the Keepers, and stay tuned for the Collectors.